Yá'át'ééh, my relatives. Good afternoon. This is Mark Charles. It's about 1:10 Eastern Time, and today is Friday, March 4th, and I'm sitting down with my second cup of coffee. I'm not going to be on really long today. I really want to go over some of what I'm looking forward to happening in the month of March and just kind of preview some of my schedule for the next few weeks. But yeah, I wanted a chance just to kind of sit down and chat about a few things and let folks know what's going to be going on this next month. Before I begin, let me start, as I always do, by acknowledging I'm speaking to you from what's now known as Washington, D.C., and that these are the traditional lands of the Piscataway. I want to honor my Piscataway relatives and thank them for their stewardship of these lands and just state how humbled I am to be on these lands today. So, Yá'át'ééh, my Piscataway relatives. Um, So, just really quickly, I'll touch on a few news item or one news item. I woke up this morning when I went to go watch the sunrise, and the news was full of this story that I'm sharing right now. This is an AP News article about it, but apparently overnight, Russian forces attacked a large nuclear power plant in Ukraine, and there was a fire burning in it for a while. The fire's been extinguished. Radiation levels were not abnormal, and it looks like the reactor was not damaged, and so that's very good news. But it just shows how incredibly reckless Russia is, right? That they would even attack a nuclear power plant. Um, and again, this is what happens when nations believe in the myth of their own exceptionalism. And the U.S. is not one to judge, right? It was barely 20 years ago that we were attacking Iraq, Baghdad, in much the same way, with shock and awe and just bombing the crap out of the city. And so, right, this is what nations who believe in their own exceptionalism do when they feel they have a right to something, a right to do something. They will do whatever they want to do, whatever they need to do. Damn everybody else. So anyway, um, yeah. So I wanted to share that and just let you know that's kind of what's going on. My schedule for the next few weeks, I'm actually really looking forward to some events coming up. On Monday, which will be on March 7th at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, I'm going to be joining virtually a group there called the Good Medicine Way. And if people, some of you may remember Richard Twiss, a Lakota leader in the church, and did a lot to kind of advance the message of contextualizing worship and what does it mean to be Native and be Christian. Really influenced a lot of people. I had the honor of knowing Richard for many years and became friends with him. And I deeply respect him and am grateful for the work that he's done. And one of his ministries was a ministry known as Wachoni, which from his is from his Lakota people, and they had powwows and summer camps and things like that. And one of the people who was partnering with Richard, his name is Casey Church, and he is in Albuquerque. I also know Casey well. And Casey is working some with Wachoni, but also doing some of his own things now. And he has a ministry there that they do on Monday nights called the Good Medicine Way. And it's a virtual meeting now during the pandemic, but it's Native believers mostly gathering together to talk about being Native and being Christian. And so he invited me to come and speak, and I'm going to speak about the radical inclusivity we see in Acts chapter 10, as well as around some of the themes I've been discussing on my social media regarding decolonizing our understanding of Creator. And so the title of my topic is Reconciled with Creator, or something along those lines. And I invite you to join this. This is open to anyone who would like to attend. There's a Facebook group out there. I'm going to put this link into the comments. And there's a Facebook group. You can join the group and sign up to attend. It'll be next week, Monday, so in about 4 days, on March 7th at 6 p.m. That's Mountain Time, so that'll be 8 p.m. here in DC. The other thing, and I've been actually talking about this event coming up for a while, at the end of the month, on March 30th, I'm going to be at the University of Michigan. Their Dutch and Flemish Studies program there has an annual lecture series called the De Vries van de Kooy Memorial Lecture. And I think this year is the 25th anniversary of this lecture series. And so they're having a 3-day event instead of just a 1-day event. And they brought in 3 sets of speakers instead of just one. And so I'm going to be speaking on the first night. This will be in person at the University of Michigan. It'll be at 7:30 Eastern time. And they're looking at issues of kind of the Dutch's own history of colonialism. And so each of the 3 nights, actually 4 nights, this is going on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And they're going to be talking about different aspects of kind of the colonial history of the Netherlands. And they've asked me to kind of kick off this series. And I'm going to be talking about my experience and the experience of our Navajo people with the Christian Reformed Church, which is a Dutch denomination, and very much came out of some of the colonial roots of the Dutch people and the Netherlands. And this was why I was in New York last week. I was actually looking at the Museum of the American Indian in New York, where there is a display there by the Lenape, giving their side of the story of kind of this mythical legend that they sold Manhattan Island for $60 worth of trinkets to the Dutch people. And they were kind of presenting their side of the story at the museum. And so I went to go see that. And so I'll be kind of shaping my talk around this proverb that a lot of Dutch people like to talk about. Yeah, I might even want to say it's kind of their creation story proverb, where they will say, God created the world, but the Dutch made Holland. And right, this is referring to the land that the Dutch people literally stole, fought, took from the sea to create much of their nation. Their nation is behind these massive dikes now, and over the past many decades, they've been stealing bit by bit land from the sea. And so I'm going to be talking about how that really is, especially when that's part of that becomes a part of your creation myth, right? That absolutely not only at least acknowledges and possibly even celebrates colonialism. So I'm going to be talking about that in that lecture series. And let me give you, there's a link. They haven't put much out for promotion, but they just put a YouTube video out this past week. And so I'm going to share that here. And this is, again, the University of Michigan, the Dutch and Flemish Studies program. It's the De Vries van der Kooy Memorial Lecture. And there's a video there. It's about 4.5 minutes long. And it previews not only my presentation, but other people who will be speaking at there as well as about the Dutch and Flemish Studies program. So I welcome you to watch that. I think they're going to stream that event. I don't have that confirmed yet, but I do believe that's something they're going to be streaming. And then for people who are interested, I mentioned that this last Sunday, I spoke at Oakbrook Church in Reston, Virginia, and I spoke about the Doctrine of Discovery and Christian Nationalism. And they actually live streamed that on their Facebook page. And so I'm going to share that with you here if you'd like to watch that video. It was on there for a while, and then it was kind of blocked, and now it's on again. So you can watch it there if you'd like to see that presentation I gave last Sunday at Westbrook Church in Reston, Virginia. And then I wanted to share briefly about what I'm going to be doing on Patreon this next month. And so every month on Patreon, I'm going to give a link to my Patreon site. So this is a place where you can follow me and support my work. You can subscribe to my Patreon page, and you'll get different benefits depending on what level you subscribe at. And so the basic level, the basic benefit is that, excuse me, let me turn off my phone here so I'm not beeping during this presentation. But the basic level, you'll get kind kind of ad-free versions of all the major videos I put up on my YouTube channel. You'll also be able to download audio of my second cup of coffee and other videos I put up on my YouTube channel. And that's for a $5 subscription a month. For the $10 a month subscription, the benefits are every benefit includes the lower benefits and then the new benefits. So for $10 a month, you get also 2 Q&As a month, one with just me and one with me and a guest. And I'm still in the process of confirming my guest for this month, but I'm going to be talking more on Patreon as well as on this site about the trauma of white America. And so that's going to be some of my running theme this next 3 or 4 weeks as we go through the month of March. And so my guest hopefully will be able to have a discussion around that theme of the trauma of white America with me. So that's coming up. And then the third level, the third tier on Patreon is my it's my join the conversation tier. And for that tier, I give a lecture every month. And my lecture this month, and that lecture includes a Q&A, and my lecture this month is my second cup of, is the trauma of white America. So I'll be giving that lecture probably the third week of the month. And then the fourth level is on Selling Truths level. And for that level, you get everything below that, but you also then get a virtual book study with myself and Sung-Chan Ra. And so we did chapter 1. We're doing 1 chapter a month. And so we did chapter 1 last month. And this month, we're going to be doing chapter 2. And so I've been going through on my social media and kind of highlighting and promoting different chapters of the book each week. And this week, I've been promoting chapter 2. And so one of the posts I put up is this one right here. Actually, I'm going to put this one up today and this weekend and over the next few days. But it says the diseased social imagination of the U.S., shaped by the dysfunctional theological imagination of the Doctrine of Discovery, has resulted in the dysfunctional social systems found in the United States. And then the other quote I've been putting up, and I'm going to put this one up there too, is this one, which has already been running on my social media, but it says Donald Trump won the support of white evangelicals by exacerbating their fears of persecution in order to tempt them away from the difficult teachings of Jesus and towards the ease and temporal safety found in the heresy of Christian empire. Both of those statements come from chapter 2. And these are some of the things that we'll be discussing in our book study this month. And that book study usually takes place in the third or fourth week of the month. And so that's coming up on my Patreon as well. But anyway, I just wanted to give you a short preview of some of my schedule coming up for the next few weeks. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I will continue talking about the war in Iraq, in Ukraine, and even our nation's response to that, as well as the church's response to that. And my general theme for the month will be talking about the trauma of white America. If you did join me last month, I did have a few things I want to highlight from last month. One was my second cup of coffee. There's 3 of them I wanted to kind of highlight for you. One of my most popular second cups of coffee last month was, for the year so far actually, was on February 8th. And it was around the theme of decolonizing our understanding of creator. And I'm going to put that link in the comments there. Also, I did a lecture last month for President's Day, and the title of that lecture was Abraham Lincoln Was a Blatant White Supremacist and one of the most genocidal presidents in our nation's history. And so that link has also been very popular on my YouTube channel this past month. And then, of course, we had the conversation I had with Jamar Tisby on Friday, talking about his book, The Color of Compromise, and how to fight racism. And then he actually asked me some questions about Unsettling Truths. And so that's up there as well if you'd like to see that. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to give you a little preview, kind of review what we've done. I'm really looking forward to this next month. I hope to have some good discussions on here. I see Steve is on this afternoon. Yá'át'ééh, Steve, it's good to see you here. Uh, Dale, thanks for joining. Charles, Yá'át'ééh, thanks for being on here with me. Tam, Yá'át'ééh, thanks for joining. And Avern Alice, Yá'át'ééh, thanks for joining today with me on my second cup of coffee. One of the things I want to start doing this month too is if you ever have a question about some of the stuff we discuss here or anything that comes up. I know last 2 days ago or yesterday, actually, I did a response to the State of the Union. But if you ever have a question that you'd like me to respond to coming out of my second cups of coffee, please feel free to either respond to that second cup of coffee, like reply to it in a tweet or on Facebook, and just state your question. And then I'll be happy in the next week or so to see if we get a good number of questions and try to respond to a couple of them. I would love to be able to get a bit more interactive with people. And so I'm looking for some ways to kind of engage and deepen the dialogue, not only through my Patreon, but also just through my YouTube channel here. So I'm hoping to be able to respond to questions a bit more frequently and be willing to are be able to just be able to engage a bit better on this platform. So anyway, Yá'át'ééh, my relatives, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope your second cup of coffee is as good as mine is. And I hope that you're able to walk in beauty. So Yá'át'ééh, my relatives, and Hakonet. Oh, wait, I just see Tam making a comment here. So Tam said, because of your teachings in explaining the truths of Lincoln, I was able to explain to an older gentleman who was questioning his doubts, and he said, and now I know I'm right. I never knew that about him. No one has shown that side. That is a response I get very frequently, Tam. People are just like, I knew things weren't as rosy as we portrayed them to be about Lincoln, but I didn't know all of these facts. And when you kind of lay them out, right, they're not only egregious of how blatantly white supremacist and genocidal he was towards Native peoples and towards African people, but they're damning, right? I mean, there's so many examples of how egregious he was. It's just almost overwhelming to even think about those things. And so, yeah, I get that response a lot where people are like, I knew something wasn't right with what we teach about Lincoln, but I didn't know what exactly it was. And so thank you for sharing that with me. And continue to use those videos. I put them out so that you can use them in efforts to educate people and let them know more of the truth about our history as we try to create this common memory. Obviously, in my book, there's also 2 chapters on Abraham Lincoln. I'll put the link here. That really deconstructs the mythology of Abraham Lincoln. And so there's 2 chapters in there as well that lay out much of the same content, a little different format, but much of that same content. So thanks for sharing that, Tom. I appreciate it. Now I'm going to sign off. So take care, my relatives, and I look forward to talking with you again next week. Hakonet.